Hello, welcome to the EPG Pathshala program in Linguistics. I am Pramod Pandey, Center for Linguistics, Jawaharlal Nehru University. I am the principal investigator of this project. We are now going to listen to the discussion of the module Maxims and Principles of Annotation. The module has been authored by Dr. Niladri Shekhar Das of Indian Statistical Institute, Kolkata. Summary. So we have listened to the important issues relating to annotation. We have seen summary. Maxims and Principles of Annotation. The basic purpose of corpus annotation or tagging is to add up various interpretative, that is, intralinguistic and extralinguistic information to a written or spoken text database by some encoding attached to or interspersed with the electronic version of the text. The intralinguistic and extralinguistic information are broadly of two types, namely representational information and interpretative information. What are these? Representational information for a written text corpus database is the actual form of text that contains characters, words, terms, phrases, sentences, etc., and other visual information. Interpretative information is what is added to the basic text database, usually by expert linguists presumed to have insights into or knowledge of the linguistic features of the text as well as of the language. There are three basic criteria indispensable in any kind of text annotation, as pointed out by Leach and Smith, 1999. These three criteria are consistency, accuracy, and speed. Consistency demands a kind of uniformity in the scheme of text annotation throughout the language database stored within a corpus. Accuracy demands freedom from any kind of error or mistake in the tag set. And speed directs towards automatic implementation of this scheme on a very large amount of corpus database within a short span of time. The process of annotation involves dealing with the following two major issues. A, the kind of linguistic information that has to be annotated in the text. That is, the various levels of linguistic analysis such as morphology, syntax, semantics, social linguistics, etc. The second major issue is the method, the way in which the text has to be annotated. Now, the way in which the text should be annotated is such that the various types of information are accommodated as and when required. So it's not a closed set, closed bit of information that is provided in annotating a text. Maxims of annotation. Scholars attempting to provide annotation to texts should better be aware of these seven maxims, as pointed out by Leach, 1993. 1. The raw corpus should be recoverable. That is, after the annotation, it should be possible for us to recover the raw corpus. 2. The annotation should correspondingly be extractable from the raw corpus. So it should be possible for us to extract the annotations themselves. 3. The scheme of analysis presupposed by the annotations, that is, the annotation scheme, it should be based on principles or guidelines accessible to the end user. The end user, that is, must be available of the principle of annotation used. 4. It should also be made clear beforehand about how and by whom all the annotations were applied. 5. The annotation scheme is offered as a matter of convenience on the assumption that many users will find it useful to use a corpus with annotations already built in, rather than to devise and apply their own annotation schemes from scratch, a task which could take them years to accomplish. 6. To avoid misapplication, annotation schemes should preferably be based as far as possible on consensual and theory-neutral analysis of the corpus data. This has to be kept in mind, especially by linguists who may be inclined towards a given theory. But for annotations, systems, corpus, it is useful to be able to use concepts and terms that are generally applicable to linguists. For example, the theory that has been developed in Australia, namely basic linguistic theory, is one such theory that can help you to decide on the annotation scheme. And finally, 7th maxim, no annotation scheme should claim authority as the standard. The notion of standard may arise through widening availability of annotated corpora, and this approach should be encouraged. Next. Principles of annotation. Just as there are maxims of annotation, so there are also principles of annotation that scholars attempting to provide annotation to corpora should be aware of. Principle 1. Generic tag sets. Remember that tag sets which are designed for different types of annotation, for example, orthographic, prosodic, grammatical, etc., should not be biased towards any particular language or a language group, but should be generic in form so that the tag sets can work fine for all major and minor languages. Thus, tag sets for Indian languages should be for languages belonging to all language families, such as Indo-Aryan, Dravidian, Austroasiatic, Sino-Tibetan, etc. In fact, the annotation tag sets should be developed in such a way that they work equally fine for all natural languages across the world. Principle 2. Uniform tag set to be designed for all text types. This is important. The tag set should not be skewed towards any particular type of a text of a language. It should work elegantly well for all the text types of a language, spoken or written. Principle 3. Spatio-temporal dimension should be present in the text set. Thus, given the corpus, it should be possible for the end user to know as to what region the corpora belong to, or what is the period to which they relate. Now, this kind of information, that is the temporal about time, history, and spatial about geography, should be included in the text set. Principle 4. Layered approach should be used for annotation. What do we mean by layered approach? What we mean by layered approach can be seen on the screen in Table 1. It's best to break up the collective linguistic information into layers and annotate each layer separately in the text. For example, the orthographic layer, the prosodic layer, chunking, parsing, and so on. Principle 5. Hierarchical formation of text is desired. The annotation of a text may be done either manually or automatically. In both cases, it has to be done starting with the lowest level tag set of the hierarchy. Once the lower level tag is selected and assigned, the higher level tag should be identified and tagged automatically, as you can see on the screen. So the lower level tag says verbal noun, material noun, etc. Looking at them, we know that the higher level tag set is noun. Principle 6. Metadata format should be used for tag set. All kinds of linguistic and extra-linguistic information encoded and used in the tag set should be stored in the form of metadata, such as HTML, SGML, XML, etc., that are globally followed in language technology. Now, this should be done so that these are understandable and accessible by a computer program designed and applied for annotation. Remember that the corpus, along with the tag set, has to be used globally. This information regarding the language, title, author, source, domain, text type, time, etc., should be marked on each text in a header file as metadata, manually or automatically. An example of metadata annotation is given in Table 3 that you see on the screen. So the header types are author, publisher, publication place, publication date, index number, and so on and so forth. Even names of collectors of the data and proofreaders and those and the information about text normalization, etc., has to be provided in the tag set. And then the other important header types are the name of the language, what type of text is used, written or oral, what's the head category, it's humanities, category literature, fiction, text type is imaginative, source type is a book, etc. All this information should also be part of the metadata. Principle 7. As said earlier, the tag set should be at par with global standard, because these are not for use only by the local users or users within a given country or nation, such as, so let's say, India, but they have to be used by researchers all over the world. Principle 8. The extensibility of tag set is required for specific languages. So a given tag set for a language may be revised, or new information has to be added in the tag set, a new category has to be added. Now, in order for this to be possible, it is necessary that a tag set should be extendable. Principle 9. Dispensability of tag set from a text is mandatory. That is, it should be easy to dispense with the tag information in an annotated text and revert quickly to the state of raw text. The raw corpus must be recoverable as and when needed, because after all, it is for multiple use. Principle 10. The standardization of tag set is a prerequisition. That is, a lot of effort must be put into standardizing a tag set, that is, arriving at a consensus of what kind of tag set is best suited for a given language or a given language group. Principle 11. The tag set should be such that it is user-friendly. If the end user does not comprehend the tag set or is not able to see how it applies, then it needs to be revised so that it is acceptable, comprehensible by the end user. Principle 12. A tag set must be non-ambiguous. It should not be possible for the end user to be able to interpret a tag set in two different ways. It has to be interpreted in one and only one way. The present state of annotation. Now, till date, there are many text corpora available in languages all over the world, such as English, German, Dutch, French, Italian, Japanese, Chinese, etc., which are annotated at various levels manually or automatically by using different sets of information, tags, and rules. Now, you can go to each of these languages and try and find data with annotated text in them. The data sets on English, for example, are well known all over the world. Data sets of American English, British English, and so on. Besides, these annotated corpora have been used as valuable resources for designing methods of linguistic research and application, as well for devising tools, techniques, and systems for natural language processing and language technology. It is one of the very useful aspects of annotated corpora is that they are widely usable. Such corpora were not available for linguists for developing linguistic theories or methods of linguistic analysis. It has come as a boon today that linguists not only depend on their own primary source of data, but also on the data with these annotated texts and they can test their theories, whether they are applicable or where they are valid or not, by applying them to these annotated data. Then these annotated data have multiple language technology use. You may look at speech processing or machine language translation or what have you. Now, if you look at various corpus texts, the famous ones like the Lancaster, Oslo, Bergen corpus. Now, this corpus is tagged by using constituent likelihood automatic word tagging system, namely clause. Now, clause is combined with a post-editing system by the developers. So you can edit it even after you have received a certain version. It is now available both in its raw and annotated version for all kinds of linguistics. Also, a large part of the British National Corpus or American National Corpus or Australian Corpus of English are now available in various annotated forms. Many other languages, as observed above, such as German and Japanese, also have corpus, their own corpuses, corpora, available in various annotated forms. Now, with regard to Indian languages, it should be stated that there is no other type of annotated corpora except a few POS, that is part of speech tagged and passed corpora, in a few Indian languages. It's not a happy state of affairs. While the post-tagged corpus is developed in the ILCI, that is Indian Languages Corpora Initiative, the past corpora are developed in the ILMT project, that is Indian Languages Machine Translation project. Some parts of these corpora are available online. At the homepage of the TDIL, Government of India. Summary. So we have listened to the discussion of the maxims and principles of annotation. It's necessary for us to pay attention to these maxims and principles. Note that the text that is created for annotation contains in it various types of information that are not found in normal text that is used for linguistic analysis. The annotated text is a rich source of linguistic study, especially because it is presented in such a way that it can be used in a robust manner by the machine. Thank you.